What do we agree on? Is there anything in this 63-point proposal that Congress will agree on that we can get bipartisan approval on? One thing, the school project, can we get bipartisan approval on forgiving student debt from descendants of ex-slaves? Can we get some free college education for descendants of ex-slaves? Can we get, some tax relief for people who are behind on their houses with descendants of ex-slaves? What can we agree? Can we do anything? Because a lot of these things we're going to ask for is what we know you have, United States, which is credit. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, Black America. We are back for episode 2, and we are going to continue to build on everything we laid out in episode 1. If you missed it, let me give you the recap. Foundational principles. We're here to unite leaders. We're here to bring together the leaders from all walks of life, all races, all cultures, who are going to help us move things forward. Because like we said in episode 1, leaders get things done. This isn't about black versus anyone. We're past the days of a black movement. God bless everyone who made an attempt to unite black people exclusively. That is not our goal. That's not our mission. This is no longer black versus white. This is wrong versus right. And if you're on the right side of history, you're going to be exactly where we are right now. Today's episode, we're going to lay out the framework, the roadmap for reparations. We went there, and we're going to talk about kind of the history of what went wrong and why what we're talking about doing right now is going to be the monumental plan, why it's going to be different, why it's going to be successful, why it's going to hold people accountable, why we're going to get results. We're also going to dive into the question of identity. I'm going to make a bold promise in a little bit. Very bold promise that I believe we'll be able to deliver on concerning identity, the search for identity, the search for ethnic heritage. And I'm going to tell you from my personal experience, it's going to change your life. That is my hope, that if you receive it, it will absolutely change your life. And finally, we're going to discuss why having our own agenda is the key to moving forward, and what not having your own agenda, leaves you at the mercy of. I'm excited. I got my guys in the building. I got super producer in the making, Curtis Cheatham, in the building. Couldn't do it without you, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate everything you bring to structure this show and give the listeners an incredible experience. I got my brother. I said I've known him 15, 20 years. That shows I was thinking of myself younger than I really am. I actually known him close to 25 years of my life. My brother Kawan Meraki in the building, making the audio magic happen. When you see the show, you see the visuals, he'll be making that magic happen. And lastly, I want to say we are everywhere. Anywhere you listen to shows, type in Hello Black America. You don't need to come to us. We are going to come to where you are. Wherever you are, type in Hello Black America. You will see us. That's a guarantee. All right? And you're listening to the world's greatest theme music. Shout out to New Alchemist. These voices empower me, and I want them to empower you. That's why we let that ride out every single episode, because we're gonna talk about voices in 1 second. In fact, that's what we're gonna talk about now. It's important that voices be heard. And, depending on whose voices is heard, will depend on what's being done. I draw a lot of inspiration and a lot of energy from the voices that have come before me. And I owe them. I have a debt that I have to pay to them. That's why I can't sit down and sleep and rest on my laurels. And that's probably why you can't either. We hit a little bit about that in episode 1, the restlessness of leaders who are dormant right now. We're here to awaken you, and we're here to give you all the things you need to unite with us and get your voice heard. But when it comes to me, like I said, I give you a little bit each show so we don't have to spend tons of time on me. I'm one voice. And I told the guys early on that I was interested, and my goal was to bring you multiple voices. That's why you're hearing their voices. That's why we have our co-host in the building on X, formerly Twitter. Get there, meet us here. Now, you're going to hear things that the final product won't have. You'll hear the mistakes. You'll hear the slip up. You'll hear the backroom chatter when we're in between segments, and we'll be dialoguing with you. We got Curtis and Kwan moderating in there. Type, let us know what you're thinking. But that's another voice, is our co-host, the virtual studio audience. But I'm interested in two more voices. And there's two voices that I need here in Hello Black America, and I want to put it out there right now because you may be listening. I want two people sitting next to me. I want one to be a woman. We need a woman's perspective here. And obviously, we'll talk to a lot of people. We plan on having a lot of friends of this show. We plan on having a lot of people who engage and tap in with us. But we're looking for someone. We're in New Jersey. We're shooting in New Jersey. And I would love to have a woman's perspective. Now, you do need to be independent because that, as we said in episode 1, is what we're holding ourselves accountable to. So we're not here to be on one side of the aisle or the other. Like, then we're putting ourselves in a position, to have the same things happen that's been happening. We're here to be independent judges, bring independent media so that we can actually make decisions and help the nations make decisions on behalf of the people. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, is from an independent perspective. Second voice that I'm looking for is a voice who will represent the youth. Now, that voice could be the same person. We could have a woman who is who represents the youth, but we need to check those two boxes. Someone who's going to represent the youth, and I would prefer that one of the people be committed to journalism. Have that be your passion, your research, your well research, and that's what we're putting out there. So. We're going to have it, and you'll be able to say, man, I remember, D, you said it, you were looking for it, and now look, this is what we got. So, now, let's, you heard me mention that we're past division. It's no doubt that most things that we set out to do as Black Americans or in the diaspora in Africa, when you set it out, you're almost looked at as a threat from day one. For not because you are a threat to people's safety or people's well-being. It's because you're looked at as a threat to what is currently. But we are very, very big on letting people know we lead with love. We believe there's been enough hate movements, and in fact, I'm big on my hypothesis is the reason why we haven't seen actual sustainable movements that actually create equity and wealth and prosperity and peace is because there's hate somewhere in there. We're letting too much hate get in. So as you listen, just know where our true north is. We're leading with love. We're leading with peace. We are peacemakers because that's, blessed are the peacemakers. That's what the scripture says. So we're here to be peacemakers in this world. Now, you heard me talk a little bit about this whole alley-oop we gave to Joe Biden and President Biden, rather, in episode 1. And I think he's going to miss the layup or the dunk, even if, and you listen, when you throw alley-oop to someone, if they lay it up, it's kind of like, come on, dog, you were supposed to dunk it. But even if they lay it up, they make the shot. The highlight doesn't look that good, but I'm giving it to him in a place where he can dunk it. If you take this immediately and you say, you know what, this makes perfect sense. We laid out how much it would cost on a high scale, very small amount of money, and the impact it can make for your history in the presidency. But people may ask, why would he do something like that? Why would he sign an executive order for the H.R. 40? Well, because he said he supported it. This is his words. So I'm about calling people to the carpet. You said you supported it. I'm not here to twist your arm to do anything you said you don't want to do or you previously expressed that you're not interested in doing. I'm here and we're here to call you to the carpet on what you said that you're going to do. Like literally, there's nothing else that I'm going to discuss with anyone other than, if we're putting new ideas into the pot, that's different. But when you've already expressed and we have documented videos and writings where you have expressed you supported the H.R. 40, which is the study of reparations. So make a committee. Or were you just saying that? See, in the days that are coming right now, you're going to be called out for what you said because the people now are speaking up. And we're here to be the voice of one of the voices of the people. There's going to be plenty of voices that come, but all of these voices that you're going to hear uniting around this message that we're talking about is really about accountability. The days of a lack of accountability is over. So if you do this, here's what you can do. Because people are saying, oh, he's not going to do it before the election. Look, for me, why wouldn't you? See, you got to realize this. You don't have Kamala Harris as a guaranteed candidate. She needs any help she can get. And looking at the race from both sides, it's a tight race. So you know that Kamala Harris has plenty of things against her that people actually look to you, President Biden, and say, well, you are hurting her based on how you ran things. I'm not criticizing how you ran things. You got some things done. You got some bipartisan bills passed. Great. I'm not here to judge your presidency. I'm here to tell you that she needs help and that the best thing you could do to help her would be to create a reparations committee before you get out of office, spend a very small amount of money. People who have been who are tired of the Democratic Party would look and say, you know what? Well, that was a major step in the right direction. And now you have all of this support going to her. That's if you truly want to do it. So and I would love somebody reach out to me and tell me, we're going to have some people. I like to get in touch with Cory Booker. You're right here. I remember when you were here, shoveling snow and as a mayor in Newark, and now you're on Capitol Hill. God bless you. So I'd love to talk to you and find out, is what we're talking about outlandish? Are we making is this like, let's talk? Because again, if I don't hear from you, we'll just take it as not interested. And we're going to talk to the people about that because we're speaking very, very loud. And when it comes to speaking very loud, you're not going to be able to miss. You're not going to be able to duck and hide from what Hello Black America is talking about and the partners that we're going to build media wise. You're not going to be able to dodge it. So I'm going to leave it to you like this, President Biden. You got two books that you could be a part of, right? The only people that are going to matter 100 years from now, the only Senate, Congress, presidents that are going to matter are the people who did something monumental in this generation. So you can either be that person and you'll be in the history books, or you could be the person who was before the people who did it. And you know what book you're in? The mystery books. You choose. All right, next segment, we're going to break down exactly, to the best of our ability, what we believe America owes the descendants of slaves. You're going to get a lot out of it. And we're going to talk about why it's no way they could pay us what they owe us. So we'll be back. Hello, Black America.
Who you know can take these syllables and tie up in a bow. Ancestors made it off the boat. Swear I need my reparations. He been dreaming way too long. The struggle I done made it from. Just because my skin golden tone, you know they think I'm dumb. Through the wheel and through the street. Diamonds in my pack for lead. The mentals of a country boy. Hustle like an athlete. Missing sleep. Still hear the screams of the slaves. Land breath from his lips. Blood covering of his face. Yeah. Boxing full of money.
Okay.
Bank accounts don't need
So.
a loan.
So we're I know what people are thinking, and we're going to take some time, probably next episode, and we're going to just take everything you guys are thinking, everything you've written in, everything you've texted us, commented, everything from the virtual chat, and we're going to just address all of that. And it's going to be in an effort to make sure that you always feel like, all right, if I got a thought, I'm included. Even if it's just, hey, I love what you fellas are doing over there. Keep up the great work. But we're going to go deep on some things. Now, we've tried to one of the things that we know is people saying there's no way they can pay us what they owe us, and that is a fact. In more ways than one, you can't put a price on what was done to the people we come from. There's no price that would, it's kind of like you see my wife watches all of these shows where, somebody gets killed, Dateline, and, you're living with a murderer, it's amazing how many of these shows exist. Like, if you really sit back, you can start to feel like how much crime is going on in this world where, it's 20 different shows with all these cases. But one of the things that, when you see the people get justice, then they're not necessarily happy because, their loved one's gone. Justice doesn't equal happiness. It equals justice. And when we looked at what they say, each descendant of a slave would have had it not been for the racist systems that were set up in the country, it comes out to somewhere around $1.4 trillion. Now, that's about 100 to, it's less than 200,000 for each descendant of a slave. That's net money, right? If they gave it to them right then and there. And that's a low estimate. Many people, economists or people who have attacked that subject have much higher estimates, but there's a reason why I'm taking the low estimate, because I want to talk to you, America, United Nations, in language you're familiar with, right? Many of you are attorneys, lawyers, you spend, so everything I'm about to say should be totally clear to you, okay? There's something called damages, and then you have penalties, and, and when we take into account how the IRS, let's just use things you're familiar with. If you owed $10,000 100 years ago to the IRS, today, do you wake up and say, all right, let me go pay that 10? Right? You listen, you better not even show up there with 10. You're not leaving. You're not leaving. There's something called penalties and interest. And penalties and interest accrue over time. And, from a real estate, from an investing standpoint, opportunity cost. What could have been done with the 150, 200,000 over hundreds of years? What could that have led to? The losses incurred to not having that. So we just took the low estimate. We put penalties and interest on it. And just using the same IRS scale, you owe us about 1.3 quad. A number. We're familiar with billions. Everybody's heard billions. Some people have heard trillions. We know we're in $1 trillion economies and GDP. The number you owe us is not. It starts with quad. It's quadrillion. What's past trillion? So that's more zeros than we've ever seen in one place. So we're not gonna sit here and call you to the table. And again, this is going back to what we talked about in episode 1, which is when you continually talk about things that they can't do, you give them a reason to say the reason it's not getting done is because it's too unrealistic. And even if it's, and if it's not unrealistic, it's not feasible. We don't have it. We don't have that money to pay. So cool. So let's talk about the grace we're going to extend. Anytime, there's a great parable where, a person owed money to the master and a wicked master came and he said, pay me my money. Pay me my money. The good master worked with the people. So we're going to work with you, and we're going to extend our hand in working with you. And the way we're going to work is around something that was brought to me. I did not come up with this. There's a person who is, who's been we're going to have him on the show very shortly. He submitted a proposal to the HR 40, which is the formal study of reparations, back in 2001, in Chicago. And so Congress has that proposal. Okay. We got almost, 2.5 decades. Nothing done yet. Cool. His idea that he brought to me, and which was brilliant, was, okay, here's what we're going to do. Whenever the next formal National Reparations Congress meeting is held, we are going to create collectively a proposal that everybody has a hand in. Every leader, every organization, every reparations advocate, every activist has a hand in. And here's why it's going to work. And when I say work, I don't necessarily mean getting everything done. I don't even mean getting one thing done. We want a result. In science, a result allows you to continue your experiment. Without a result, things are too vague. When we come together with this national proposal that is going to be a laundry list of all the leaders around this country who have co-authored it, starting with the easiest things first and moving down to the harder asked, if there's no to everything, we have the result we need. We know we have united around positive movement and things that will absolutely help us and the country, because when Black America does well, the country's going to do well. That's not even when Black America does well, the globe is going to do well. I personally believe a large part of why a lot of the problems exist in the world is because there's groups of people who've been marginalized. And so we're going to approach this the way this gentleman, James Lankford, said we should approach it. And he wasn't talking about this. He didn't know, though, when I heard him say this, I said, that's the way we're going to approach this. He said, if we're pursuing everything, we very often end up with nothing. If we're pursuing someone else coming later to fix it, later seems to never come. When we have a moment to fix things, we should fix as many things as we can, then come back later and fix the rest. That's progress. That's a statement of progress. That's a statement that eliminates stalemates. What do we agree on? Is there anything in this 63-point proposal that Congress will agree on that we can get bipartisan approval on? One thing, the school project, can we get bipartisan approval on forgiving student debt from descendants of ex-slaves? Can we get some free college education for descendants of ex-slaves? Can we get, some tax relief for people who are behind on their houses with descendants of ex-slaves? What can we agree? Can we do anything? Because a lot of these things we're going to ask for is what we know you have, United States, which is credit. You don't have much cash. You can print cash. You don't have much gold. You don't have much real gold asset, tangible things to give us. That's cool. You have a ton of credit. A lot of what we are talking about in that initial list is things that corporate companies, private institutions already wrote off on their books.
Hello, Black America.
So if they wrote it off and you already gave them the tax write-off, they took the loss, then why can't you say, well, these people fall into this particular category? Part of our proposal to help heal the past wounds, those people get forgiveness. Okay? So when we talk about who benefits from us getting this done, it's not just Black Americans. As I said, all Americans will benefit when African Americans have prosperous communities, safe communities. Obviously, we're always going to have to deal with what comes with running a nation. We're going to have people here who shouldn't be, who we need a justice system. We're going to have crime. That's just what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, the best ideas of our people, see, we've been able to create in oppression. That's why we get terrible music right now, because it's actually an oppressive system. Back then, you had an ability, if you were good, to bring music to the table. You can actually bring TV shows to the table. You can bring stuff with theme songs uplifting to the table. It was mainstream stuff. It was oppression, so you had people like Sam Cooke and people singing about, change gonna come and all of that, but it was still like, okay, we can break this thing. Now you have total oppression of who's controlling the information coming through. And that's why you don't see the theme song. You don't see the sitcoms. You don't see the movies being made like they used to be, not to recreate history, but to have the same level of creativity and impact. You can't put creators in an oppressive situation and think you're going to get their best work. And that's why we've been able to literally create, in spite of oppression, the world we want to create is when we can create without the oppression, even playing field. If we can get to a point where we can start to move things forward, policy-wise, I promise you, everyone's going to be happier. So this is a gesture to say, all right, we're going to make an impact. We're literally going to make a serious, we're willing to talk. Now, again, we don't have anyone to talk to right now specifically. That's why we are requesting throwing President Biden, the alley-oop, create the Reparations Commission. Because once you have that committee, those are the people we can talk to. Then we can report back to what they said. We can report back to how those meetings are going. We have someone to have the discussions with. Right now, we are calling, we're bringing it to the world that we have the plan. That's why what you're about to hear about with Rep 2025, we'll talk about that. Rep 2025 is what's going to be the plan to move us forward. And we're going to borrow from models that already exist. We're going to borrow from the model in Israel. We have enough history to say, all right, what worked? What didn't work? When we talk, we're gonna talk about the repatriation portion, because I know I got people who like Deshone. Well, look, I'm really interested in going back and building Africa. That's cool. We're going to make sure that in the reparations proposal is the repatriation aspect, where when you go back to build Africa, you're not going back empty-handed, going in to try to change a country that's been politically oppressed, socially oppressed, economically oppressed, and you're going in as one man or one woman to fight all of that. We want legislation that's going to send you in. So for the people who are like, you know what, I'm interested in going and building my homeland, trust me, as you unite with us around Rep 2025, you might say, look, man, I'm leaving America. I'm never coming back. Cool. That's not my perspective. Cool. But if that's you, we leaving with something. You're not leaving empty-handed. We leaving with something. We'll be back to talk about how DNA is going to play a huge role in us going to our homelands, going in with peace, going in as brothers and sisters, and making sure that the natives over there know we're not coming in as colonizers. We're coming in there to unite with them to build these nations up. We'll be right back. Hello, Black America. One of my passions is helping people pay less than everyone else for cars. I get a thrill out of it. It actually comes easy for me. I spent 14 years in the car business. Now, you might not have that same certainty. You might have some anxiety when it comes to car buying. You might even hate the process altogether. But with me personally guiding you to your deal, no one can lie to you. I know all the tricks. I know everything they're going to try to pull. I know all the hidden fees. And most importantly, I know how to help you avoid them and pay less than everyone else. So I want you to go to carshoppingfromhome.com, use promo code HBA for a special offer only for Hello Black America audience members, and let me personally walk you to your next below market deal. I'll see you inside. This segment is going to be a little personal for me because I've had my own experience with this. This search for identity, everyone doesn't have it, and some people not interested in it. That's perfectly fine. At this time, things change. I wasn't interested in this 3-4 years ago. My wife will tell you, I got kind of bit by this bug of, in fact, what's so crazy is my sister is the one that started it. She took the Ancestry.com DNA test. I see I'm half Nigerian. I'm 48 or 49% Nigerian, 23% Cameroonian. Okay. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And again, I look at it the same way. If you're a French American and you come from France, you know where you come from in France. A lot of these people, they got to go back to their old villages, back in Italy. Oh, listen, this is where my father used to bake the bread right here. This is the wall he used to knead the dough on right here. They know that stuff, and this started to spark this for me. So I did the African ancestry test. And I can see from my father's side, the paternal side, I'm from the Bamileke people in Cameroon. We coming to you. I'm coming to you. So I'm just telling everybody that I'm coming to you. And we sending a lot of people are coming home soon. Like, we're coming home, and we're going to help build home. When I did this last DNA test, I find out that I'm actually ancient Egyptian. So we find out in the last 3 years, I found out I'm Nigerian, Cameroonian, ancient Egyptian, and it just goes back further to the ancient Egyptian. So the key is when we look at identity, this new science, it's not debatable right now. Now, millions and millions of people start taking DNA tests. Do I think that some of these companies won't be bought and taken? Yeah. And I don't put anything past anybody. But at this particular time, the science exists for us to find out where we're from and then tie that to the reparations proposals that we're making to these nations. Because if you came into Cameroon and you took people from Cameroon to a nation away from their home, violated their human rights, violated their right to religion, their own religion, violated their right to know their native language, violated their right to practice their own culture. These are human rights issues, United Nations. You know this. This is from your book. But what I want you to understand, a DNA test, a Y chromosome DNA test to find your paternal line, an African ancestry DNA test to find out where you come from, which tribes you come from, that is going to change your world. I can't promise it to all of you because I don't know how you're going to respond to it, and everybody responds differently. But I can tell you one thing. The people there have your DNA.
Hello, Black America.
So right now, you're in a circle of people all around you who don't have the same DNA as you, don't come from the same tribes as you, don't come from the native lands that you come from. And we now have the science for you to have the gift of knowing where you come from and why, when you go back, you're going back home. And so we plan on using Liberia and potentially Sierra Leone, which was founded for descendants of free slaves, as headquarters. So, and this is the partnership we're discussing with the United States, with the UN, and potentially with other people if they sleep on it. If you can't get your hands in Africa. Africa has a huge do not enter sign up, and they have get the hell out of here signs up to Europe. France takes hundreds of billions of dollars out of Africa annually. What is Africa getting for that? Those hundreds of billions? Let's just look. Where do they stand on the world stage? Where does France stand on the world stage?
Saying for every 14 billion that France invests in the stock market from Africa, they are realizing upwards of 300 billion in return. Every year in, year out, because of these deposits from the African countries, France is taking out of Africa over $500 billion. Now figure it out.
Hostility against the French in their former West African colonies has hit an all-time high. In Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, the pushback has been angry and noisy. Economic decline and instability linked to insurgents have characterized some of these countries, making them prone to military takeovers. To some critics, the policy of Francafrique, which binds France to its former colonies economically, politically and militarily, means the French never really left Africa. For others, the French are just meddlesome.
How does one country stand higher than an entire continent on the world stage in terms of economy and just, GDP and just, how does that doesn't make sense? But you take hundreds of billions of dollars out of this continent. So who the heck wants to continue with that? Africa certainly doesn't, and they're taking the steps to make sure that that's not their present or their future. We are your only shot into Africa. Diplomatic relations are going to come through the diaspora. So if we look up and in 2 years, we have a phenomenal relationship with Africa and the U.S. because the U.S. invested into sending the diaspora home armed with military subsidies, same way they sent Israel into a Palestinian state that they knew there would be turmoil there and there's going to be a lot of growing pains there, but they sent them in with military aid, with support, so they could control that situation. It hasn't been controlled, that's another issue. But when they went in, how were they able to go in to an occupied state where there was, so to speak, chaos and send millions of people in there and people are not leaving out, it's because it was an organized legislative effort. We want to borrow from that same formula. Go into Liberia, work with the native Liberians, build Liberia into a hub, have it be potentially like American soil. Depends on if we can make a deal that makes sense and if the people that we're representing are okay with that deal. We go into Liberia, we build this country into one of the most prosperous nations, safe, secure. It becomes a hub for people leaving the US's leaving the Americas and leaving Europe to come into Africa and have a home base that we then use to now take care of the rest of the countries. We expand out into Nigeria, into Cameroon, into the Democratic Republic of Congo. We expand into these areas, but our hub is based in Liberia and Sierra Leone, where we are partners with someone. So we're going to give you the first right of refusal, as I said, but you don't have all the time in the world to act on this. The Eastern powers exist. The Eastern powers are going to continue to rise up, and they're going to continue to make a case against you. The Eastern powers get to sell the truth. Why would you want to work with them again? Why wouldn't you want a partnership with us? So I'm not, or none of us are powerful enough to stop that conversation. The only thing that's going to stop that conversation is you taking action, putting up, everything. Everyone sees what America does. Am I right, fellas? Anything America does, the world sees it. So if America today decided, you know what? We are sending everyone who wants to go build their homelands. We're going to establish Liberia. You're going to go in there. We're going to have military aid. You're going to have subsidies. We're going to help you develop roads and airports and bridges and develop infrastructure. And you're going to go in there and we're going to build businesses and create commerce with the native. And that GDP in Liberia is going to go through the roof, and it's historic. Now that's going to happen. What I just said is going to happen. We just don't know if America's the one that's going to make it happen or going to help it happen. We don't know if the United Nations are going to help it happen. We don't know if what role. We don't know who the partners are going to be. But we're putting it out there that we have an agenda. And we're going to talk about why having an agenda is extremely important. Next segment, we'll go to virtual studio audience, see if we got anybody who wants to say anything on there. If not, if they're just listening, we'll just keep going. We'll close it out. But I see we got a lot of people in the virtual studio audience for the first time. Shout out to the virtual studio audience. We can't make this happen without you. When we come back, we are going to talk about why having our own agenda is extremely important. And if we do not unite around this agenda, we are going to be at the mercy of people who already have an agenda. We'll be right back. Hello, Black America. Since 2020, I've been showing people everything car dealers like the one I'm standing in front of don't want you to know about car buying. Things like you don't need a down payment to get a great deal, you don't need to be a great negotiator, and you definitely don't need to spend more than 30 minutes in a car dealership. I spent 14 years in the car business, 5 with Mercedes-Benz, 5 with General Motors, and I just released my new digital book, Cars from Home, 7 Steps to Saving Time, Money, and Avoiding Dealerships. It's already 5-star rated, and I want the entire Hello Black America audience to have a copy at 75% off. So go to carsfromhomebook.com, use promo code HBA as in Hello Black America, and don't forget to send me your success story. And about this kind of universal principle that is almost accepted by everyone, this karma, and you could say it in multiple ways. If you tie it to the biblical principles, you reap what you sow. If you want to tie it to scripture, if you want to tie it to science, cause and effect. And we kind of all agreed that taking millions of people, building a nation that would become the superpower of the world, creates massive power on a global scale, but it was started on the backs of free labor and killing and oppression and murder and things that we rarely want to talk about. We all agree that, yes, you'll be here, but there is something bad coming to you if you don't correct it. Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers of this nation, wrote something that I want to read to you. He said, "Indeed, I tremble for my nation when I reflect on the fact that God is just and that his justice cannot sleep forever." The God you say you believe in. See, again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. I'm not here to talk to you about anything that you don't subscribe to. I'm talking to the people who run the country. You said you believed in. You believed in these biblical principles. You did Anglo-Saxon and Protestant and Catholic. You believe in the scriptures. You believe in that same God that said you cannot hold anyone for more than 7 years. This is in the writings. If you believe in that same God, then you believe in the prophet Moses that he sent, that he gave the law and the statutes and the government to. And he said 7 years you can keep anyone, indentured servant, stranger, your brother, but you must free them on the 7th year, and you forgive all debts. You forgive all debts. I think that could be where y'all borrowed the statute of limitation from. I can't validate that, but, I'd love to hear some history of the statute of limitation, but that is the God you said you believe in. So and I'm talking, my Christian and Muslim and Jew brothers that are Jews can relate to this particular part that I'm talking about, because your judgment is way past due. If you kept anyone more than 7 years, you had to immediately deal with God. Immediately. Now you have hundreds and hundreds of years that you have stacked up negative. You have built a case against yourself. And if you and I want to tell you this, it does not it requires much more than a simple. We had a civil war. Everyone has the opportunity now. Go ahead and be who you want to be. It requires much more than that. That is not repentance. Where you need to, at this particular time, what we're asking you to do with this show, in this particular case, we're going to talk about more than just this reparations agenda. We have plenty of things, because what we're going to do is going to happen regardless of whether reparations gets passed or not. We're not going to sit here and be defensive and say, we're going to operate, everything we're going to build is based on if we get reparations. Absolutely not. Everything we're going to build is going to be done in spite of whether we get reparations or not. But what I'm telling you is for your own sake, You need to repent. You need to show, you know what? We need to make a real effort because the God we say we believe in. Again, look, we can have this conversation separately. It's politicians that right now you can't sleep. I already know it. You're having horrible dreams. You're waking up. You're seeing things. I understand. Why are you seeing these things? Because you need to stand up tomorrow and tell your colleagues, we have to fix this because something terrible is coming to us if we do not. And that might look like you slipped from a superpower to the second or third. That's a big deal. The Roman Empire not being the Roman Empire is a big deal. The American Empire not being the superpower of the world is a big deal. And that's just a light judgment. All right, you number 2 now instead of number 1. We would pray. I don't think when Thomas Jefferson said, I tremble for my nation when I reflect that God is just, I don't think he was talking about, well, we might have to settle for number 2. I think he feared something much more than that. All right. We got 2 questions we're going to go to from the virtual audience in about 2 minutes. I just want to say this one thing. If we don't have, and this is for anybody, and I'm not going to even say it I'm not going to say it as a collective. I'm going to say I'm talking to you as an individual. If you don't have your own agenda, you will always be at the mercy of someone who does. I want you to take that in. If you don't have your own agenda, you will always be at the mercy of someone who does. So Elon Musk is in a position right now where he said he wants to run an efficiency campaign. He wants to be involved with the efficiency, the way government spends money. This was his suggestion to candidate Trump. Candidate Trump said, I like that idea. A lot of people like that idea. And here's what I want to tell you. If you look at how Elon runs, listen, this is how Elon runs his company. He works 18 hours a day. He believes Tesla workers should be working. If you just Google how do Tesla workers work, you'll see, oh, shoot, that dude got them working. He went into Twitter, which is now X, which we're on right now. Shout out to him and shout out to Spaces. He fired, I believe, 30+% of the people? More than half gone. Now, he saved the company because Twitter was going bankrupt. But when you have somebody who's coming in and they say, you know what, I'm eliminating waste. Your program that you think is doing so well in your community, if it depends on government funding, someone's agenda is about to override yours. That's why everything we do must be based on self-sustainability. It must be based on art. If we partner with the government for anything, it's not a long-term partnership. We're not basing this on needing your funding for 3 years or 5 years or 10 years to exist. Because the minute you wake up and say, you know what, hey, I don't like how that's going. Or I don't like the people that's doing it. Or we could be getting major results. You could be changing lives for single women in your community. You could be helping prisoners in your community. And you just need this little bit of money. And you like, man, we helped 100 prisoners have better relationships with their children. All right, let's go for that grant. The grant is no longer there. Program's dead. That's why it's important for us to have our own agenda. And Rep 2025 is that agenda. Go to Rep 20. Rep 2025 is where we're hosting this proposal, collaborative efforts, and we'll talk about Rep 2025 until it gets passed. All right, but Curtis, how's the virtual studio? Oh, we got 2 questions. All right, talk to me. Can we bring? Are there written questions, or we want to bring
written
somebody
questions,
else?
And they're kind of both related to the upcoming election. One comes from Jeffrey in the virtual audience, and he asks, do you believe H.R. 40 bill will make it harder for the Harris-Walz ticket given the current state of America? And I'll just read the second one because they are kind of related. Comes from Daryl in the virtual audience. Do you think the timing of Biden coming out and forming a committee before the election would hurt and alienate Kamala Harris supporters? Kind of related questions.
Oh, thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Daryl. Do we think that Biden creating a reparations committee prior to the election would hurt the Harris-Walz ticket. I'm just basing it off of the fact that I know brothers who they think are voting for Kamala Harris who aren't. There's more people in urban society considering the Republican ticket than ever before. This is at a time where, fortunately, a percentage of Black Americans are tired of the Democratic Party, and they're looking at other options. I don't think there's anything more powerful that President Biden could do than to show, because it's a handing off of a baton. Let's just keep it real here. The question, we're not going to talk about the question on whether we believe Kamala Harris is Black and Indian versus, race versus ethnicity. She identifies as a Black woman. She went to a historically Black college. That's what she identifies at. Seeing a president, a Democratic president, create a reparations committee, who would he be creating that for to finish the deal? Donald Trump? Who is he saying? If he's saying, hey guys, I'm going to take this, I want to leave, and I want to, because of what I'm going to do, you guys in 2025 and beyond can have conversations about these issues with real committees designed to come up with solutions. He hands that off to candidate Kamala Harris. That is how I see now. Is there a different perspective? Do we see something else that could happen? Could President Biden create a reparations committee and then people say, well, they ain't for us? What would that would be the biggest action they could show that they're for. I mean, that's just my opinion. But again, I don't think it's going to happen. And I'm more concerned about why it wouldn't happen. If we have if they want to do a follow-up comment, Jeff or Darryl, and give us something to consider, how could that hurt? How could that hurt? I want to know how. I want Cory Booker to tell us. I want someone to tell. I want both sides. We're looking for both sides of the aisle to tell us how could what we're saying to President Biden hurt him or whatever. Because, again, I don't know all of this stuff. All I know is we're going to throw out ideas that seem to make sense. Someone's going to have to prove to us and prove to you, the listener, that everything you're hearing from these guys or these don't make sense. See, we're going to talk about in future episodes how we are going to hedge our bets. Hedging is just in case it goes this way, I'm good. If it goes this way, I'm good. That's a hedge. It's a form of diversification. We are too invested in nothing. We're very, very invested in not much. And so when we consider that we are coming to America and saying, listen, every reparations leader has sat around, looked at rep2025.com, or co-authored that proposal, signed the petition. We have millions of people from all walks of life, all races. We have people who are Black, white, Indian, support the Rep 2025 proposal, that think it would be the best thing to move us forward as a country. You're going to have to tell us beyond a shadow of doubt, you got to prove to 20 million people why that doesn't make sense. And if you can do that, I think we're willing to listen. We're willing to hear you out. Because you are in the field. You're on Capitol Hill. You see things we don't see. So maybe you give us the perspective of why, hey, you know what, that one thing right there, we need to tweak that. And don't shut it down, because once you shut it down, you see, we'll move on. We'll talk to some other people. We need to build and improve. Build and improve. I like what y'all doing, but I like what all you millions of people are supporting, but hey, here's how we need to improve. We're all for those conversations, but we're not going for We're not doing the, listen, when we calling you, when we're emailing you, trust and believe the whole audience is going to know you haven't called us back. We're inviting you. You're Cory Booker. You hear this, hey, man, how long you going to wait to tap in with us? Hopefully the audience shouldn't be like 7 episodes in. Wait, y'all ain't hear from Cory Booker yet? Accountability is here. And it's beautiful.